Hey folks, welcome to the second week of the fellowship. During this week, I'm sure in the last weeks you have already acquainted yourselves with the basics of Rust. I hope you were able to watch couple of videos on the YouTube channel and be able to understand in depth, or rather at least get the basics to intermediate of Rust right for the week 1, which was your last week. I'm sure you got started with the quests, which were simple ones like how to learning to set up to build on Solana, like introduction to Rust, deploying a simple program onto Solana, and just getting familiar with the CLI of the Solana ecosystem. Now, the exercises associated with week 1 that you're expected to complete are just basic exercises related to Rust. These are some of the topics that you will come across frequently in the smart contract ecosystem, something around macros, around just the basic logic, Fibonacci series, or even building a simple cipher, right? So things, some of the topics that you need to be very, very familiar with in Rust are functions, macros, ownership, structure, etc. Right? Now, you don't really need to know in depth how these things work. However, that would be helpful, but at least you should be in a position by now to be able to read Rust code and make sense of it. If not, I would definitely suggest to continue working on that part of things as well. So, week 2, welcome to week 2. Here we are going to be working with very simple, mini dApps. I wouldn't even call them mini dApps, but just really starting to dive into the Solana ecosystem and kind of look at the different quests that are there supporting that. Um, I would suggest to start with the airdrop program. Actually, this is the first one that you should start with. Once you go to Solana, you should be able to see this fourth quest in line, that is create an airdrop program with Solana web3.js, right? So you can also do an airdrop using the CLI, but this is the same thing, of course, from a functionality perspective. But this is really for you to help set up the whole Solana kind of thing on your system. Just get acquainted with the using terminal for doing all things Solana, right? So of course, here you have the basic npm setup, that is setting up your environment. Mm, One of the things to note about the setup is that you will find this setup being common for almost all the quests. So once you have set up the basic things like your npm and your Solana web3.js and stuff like that, you will not actually need to do this for all the other projects. Of course, unless you don't install the web3.js for Solana globally, then you'll have to keep installing in every local project. But this setup primarily remains more or less the same. That's what I mean to say. And here, what you are doing is basically you are just using the Solana's Web3.js library to be able to create a key pair and create an account, right? And once you have created this account using your JS, you will be airdropping some amount of Sol into that account. So you can see that you are going to create the wallet, store the wallet credentials, create the wallet balance function, so it will get some kind of balance. Then of course you will be airdropping the Sol, right? So this is the airdrop function where you have the wallet key pair, you create a connection to the actual devnet, right? So devnet, betanet, or local net, whichever you would like. Here we are going to be using the devnet, right? So you're going to be connecting to devnet, and then you will use the this particular connection object to request an airdrop into the account that you have just created. So this is a very simple kind of function. Of course, you can test it by creating your own wallet and things. So you have the complete code here. You can run this and see if everything is going um, as per the quest, right? And if you have completed this, this is going to help you get acquainted with probably the connection parts. How do you create your wallet, and what are accounts, and then how do you fill up your test accounts with some amount of dummy sol, right? You would need to do this basically as a starting step when you are going to create a project, especially a dApp that may require playing around with certain accounts and things like that. This is your first quest that you would need to do. It's fairly simple. Just need to most of the code, of course, all of the code is in JS only, so you don't have to worry about it much. Now, the create the roulette game, right? This is a very interesting quest actually. uh, Even though you may think that you're going to build like an end-to-end game, that's not true. You will be focusing on doing transactions in Solana. So in this particular quest, you can see that the first few steps, as I mentioned, are going to be common: setting up the Solana Web3 and things like that, establishing connection. So creating a connection object. After doing that's why I recommended you to do the airdrop quest first and then this one. So you're already familiar with how the entire workflow is. You are generating the addresses, and then you are getting the funds and stuff. Now this is where the seventh pointer, which is the transaction overview, is where you kind of get into the actual critical concepts that are going to be your takeaways or learning elements from this particular quest, right? So you will find that there are different components that are needed for this particular, for doing a successful transaction on Solana. For example, public key of the from wallet address, public key of the to wallet address, the amount to be transferred, and the from wallet instance for the signer. That is, because you're transferring some amount, right? The signer or the from person, from wallet, has to sign that particular from wallet, the amount, right? So that here and where we have a from wallet instance for the signer, which is also required, right? So initially, the participation amount will be from the user wallet and transfer to a treasury wallet, right? So this is just for us to get an idea, right? Now, this whole process of creating a transaction is very, very important to understand how this is happening in the Web3 using the Web3.js libraries, because in many of your dApps that you're using, right, you will be coming across this problem statement a lot. That is, how to create a transaction, right? Because when you think of blockchain, of course, the entire ecosystem, almost everything that we communicate over the blockchain is through a transaction, right? We can either transfer value or we can transfer data, but everything happens through a transaction. So it is very important to understand how you can create a transaction from Web3 and be able to do that over chain, right? So of course, here we have signing the transaction. What if there could be signed transaction and there could be unsigned transaction? But most of the cases, of course, or I mean almost all of the cases where we are transferring value or transferring money, the owner or the from wallet needs to sign the transaction. So you can see that signing the transaction, how does that happen? You have the connection object, then you have the transaction, and then you kind of, in this step, you put together everything that is happening, and you perform the end-to-end operation. Then of course you get the wallet balance and get the balance in lamports, etc. Now, when you see the project structure, this is basically your project structure for the entire roulette game, right? So you can see that the roulette game would have certain different structures, like it has an index.js, then it has the game execution, it has the helper JS, and it has all the other code around the ecosystem that will help you run the roulette game itself, right? So the logic for the roulette game itself is not here, but in the repo, if you are able to fork the repo and clone it, you will be able to find the entire logic for the roulette game as well, right? If you face any issues in finding this roulette game GitHub repo, do message our team on Discord, and we will get back to you as soon as possible with the working repo of the roulette game. So the idea of the roulette game is basically just for you to, if or to introduce you to what are transactions. All the other thing in the roulette is, of course, the different logic based on which the game itself may function, but the idea is to introduce you to the concept of transactions and get you to understand hands on as to how this may work, right? These are the two very basic quests that are there for this week from a quest perspective. But of course, you will also be kind of learning, or might have already started learning related to things related to smart contracts and how to start writing your own smart contract on Rust on Solana, for Solana, right? Now, this is where the exercise that I've given you is basically a very simple exercise. That is, you have to just write a simple voting contract in Solana, right? Now, the voting contract will also have delegates that will delegate the votes. So, if you don't want to vote yourself, you can delegate your vote through other delegators, right? Or through someone else, for example. Now, this contract itself and the problem statement is picked from Solidity by example. We have a very popular contract here, which is the contract ballot, which is where the whole delegation is happening, right? Now, my suggestion to attempt this exercise is to try and split this work into uh, two parts or three parts as you prefer. The first part can be that you can write a very, very basic contract wherein there are proposals and there are votes, right? So proposals are added by different proposers who want to create a proposal, right? So initially you can make it like anybody can create a proposal, right? They will need a name, and they will, for the proposal structure, you will need a name and a vote count, right? So if you see in this, they are by default populating some X number of proposals. You can do this as well, right? As a logic. But in the beginning, you should approach it like you have a set of proposals and people can vote on any of the proposals, right? Then at the end of the voting period, whichever proposal has got the highest vote, that proposal is the winning proposal, right? This is a simple workflow. Now, in the second workflow is where you can add the chairperson, right? So the chairperson is basically used here to be able to delegate the vote, right? Chairperson gives the right to people to vote, right? So here you can see give right to vote is a function, which is give voter the right to vote on this ballot. So this can be done only by the chairperson. So the first section that you built was a excuse me, single voting section, right? Yeah, so the first part that you built is a simple voting section where there are proposals and people can vote. Now, in the second part, adding on to the first contract, the existing base contract, you can add the functionality for a chairperson who can give the right to vote to voters, right? Now, the third part, that is the delegation part, is something that you can add on top of the, again, the A plus B that you already have. The C can be the logic to delegate, right? So you can add the function to delegate where the voter can delegate the vote to another person, and then that delegate should be able to vote, and your final result with the winning proposal is declared, right? So this is the entire kind of program that I'm hoping you can write. If you find it too overwhelming as well, it is okay. You don't have to write the entire all the three ABC parts. At least try to write part A, right, which is a simple program where you have voters and you have proposals. Voters will vote for can vote for a proposal of their choice, and the winning proposal will be declared once the voting period is over. You can assume, like, there's a fixed voting period or something initially, hard coded one to get started with. However, if you're able to do all the three parts, that is part A, B, and C, that would be really great, and it would be really helpful for you to be able to understand how you can write the logic, or how you can kind of define the logic in in Rust, right? These are the two quests as well as the exercises for this week 2, right? So it's just really about playing around with the Rust ecosystem, sorry, with the Solana ecosystem from a contracts perspective, like setting up your repo, and then uh, being able to perform smaller actions like airdrop transactions. So all the basic options are being covered, basic operations are being covered in these two quests. And then, of course, from the Rust language understanding that you have got in the past 2 weeks, can you create a simple voting contract in Solana, right? These are a couple of things that we're looking for in this particular week. I'm sure that your Web3 development session is also, or is already amazing, right? Is going to be amazing, which is by Preeti. So, yeah, this is pretty much it for this week from a learning perspective. Of course, I would suggest to continue learning Rust. Just try as you go through some concepts, as in when you have some time. Here are some more kind of easier problem statements as well that you can start with, and then move to the more advanced problems that are more challenging, right? And if you have any questions, feel free to pop onto Questbook Discord, and we will try to help unblock you when it comes to like the quests or anything, or if you want help, we'll try our best to unblock you in terms of all the questions possible. All right. So have a great week, guys, and best of luck for your fellowship week this week. If you have any questions, do feel free to reach out to the Questbook team on Discord, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you.